Thank you very much for being here this evening. It's a great honor and pleasure and real joy for me to share some minutes with you this evening. Thank you very much to Mr. Ali for translation, and to you for listening to me in 2 languages will be a bit challenging. I guess it takes a bit longer, but thanks a lot. I do hope you do recognize me from the photo. I was 2 years younger, but 2 years as the head of a consultancy has given me some gray hair apparently. So today I would like to talk about opportunity, Forsat. Because that's a word which all of us use every day, or it's very much used in the discourse of society. We talk about equal opportunities from the education system, equal opportunities for men and women, for rich and poor. So kind of everybody talks about opportunities, and people who might not have fulfilled their wishes and dreams in life would easily say, I didn't have the opportunities. Now, the first point of how we create and use opportunities is the following. My company or the company I've been responsible for. And in the vast majority of those cases, the people, the candidates have not been sufficiently qualified. That means there was an opportunity, but the people were not adequately prepared. So the first point in the question of opportunity is preparation. Preparation has several aspects. One is education in a formal schooling system or at university. Yes. Well, I know that people in Iran are very, very geared towards university or high school education, so I would like to say some words about that. And there are 2 bad news. First bad news is that actually formal education is just the entry ticket. It normally doesn't give you a real competitive advantage unless people come from some very elite institutions. And you see, the second bad news is that the price of the entry ticket goes up every day. So for example, in the times of my father, during the Second World War, was a young boy and a young man. When he was 16 years old, he had to go to the Second World War to fight the Russians on the Eastern Front. And you know, when he came back, he didn't have any real education. But he made some courses, and as he was an ambitious and intelligent young man, it was enough to make a career, become a senior manager and some kind of businessman. Now that was 50 years ago. In my time, I was the first person in all my family to go to university. And in my times, 30 years ago, with a university degree, it was enough. There was the entry ticket. It was good. And today, in the times of my children, you know, I have 2 children, 25 and 22 years, a daughter and a son, and they both live in London. And my daughter, both of them, my daughter has finished, she went to a good university and made a very good master, but today that's not good enough. What she did is she went 1 year to work for the UN in Hong Kong, in China. Then she went 1 year to work for the UN in Phnom Penh, which is Cambodia. And that is the entry ticket now, because that is a difference today. What I'm saying, the price of the entry ticket goes up every generation. When we want to complete our formal education, there are some personal requirements which we need. One is a never-ending curiosity. Everybody is curious for something different. For me, it's countries. I might have traveled to 70, 80 countries, and I have a never-ending curiosity to see new places. And the second personal characteristic I'd like to underline is a wide view of the world. You know, sometimes when I make job interviews, I interview people who want to join, I ask them questions they don't expect. One of my favorite questions is I ask, what, in your opinion, are the 3 most important problems of the world? And then people say something. They might say poverty, global warming, inequality, whatever. Some people don't say useful things. They say, we work too much, and then you know what it's about, right? So, and the next question I ask is, if you were the General Secretary of the United Nations, what would you do to solve these problems? What I want you to tell you with this is, today we don't look only for people with a good formal qualification. We look for a deep personality, somebody with wide interests and a good opinion about many important things in the world and in life. Now you see, preparation is not just studies, because you don't become an excellent football player by reading a book about football, right? And you don't become an excellent player by watching Messi on television. So what it's about is about practice. So how do you get practice? The first thing is you look out for challenge. As in your company, ask for a new job, your next job, which is more difficult than you think of yourselves that you could do and manage. What I want to say is stretch yourselves always. Look for something where you do not feel comfortable. You know, whenever I feel comfortable, I think something is wrong. I need to change. You know, when I joined my first company, Unilever, many years ago, 33 years ago, this was in Austria, my country, Autriche. In the second week, I started to ask them, please send me to another country. Apparently, actually, after 4 years, they sent me to Spain, and then to Switzerland, and then to Poland, and to Hungary, then to Dubai, and then I came to Iran. So, when you are in your job, always look to do something which you do not feel prepared and comfortable with. So that was the first point, preparation. Preparation is a formal education, it is a mental preparation, and it's practice. Now, the second point, I'm coming to the second point of opportunity now. Because most of us think that we strategically plan our lives and our career. Many of us think we have a strategic plan in our life. But I think in most cases, that is an illusion. You know the famous boxing world champion Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. So all we can really do is to prepare ourselves and be flexible to grab the opportunity when it comes along. I myself, I did not sit in Europe 5 years ago and think, which plan can I possibly make to come to Iran? Actually, it never crossed my mind. It never came to my mind. It's just I had an opportunity and I took it and I came. It's actually quite a funny opportunity because one summer, more than 4 years ago, I was on holidays with my family on the Canary Islands, which are 3 hours west of Spain, southwest of Spain. You know, my wife is from Spain, so we spent our holidays with the family and her parents and so on the Canary Islands. And then one day we were flying back to Madrid to continue our holidays in the place where she was born. So when I arrived at the airport, the plane touched down, I turned on my telephone and I got a message from a friend of mine who said, can you be in Dubai tomorrow? It was about 8 in the evening. So actually, you know, when we travel in Europe, we don't need a passport. So I had no passport with me. It was in Vienna. I did not even have a formal dress because I was just on the beach holidays. But somehow I managed to send my family to the holiday place and to be in Dubai next day with my passport and my suit. So I went to see Mr. Soleimani, head of and chairman of Solico Group. So and I stayed with him 4 days, and after 4 days he said, would you like to join my company? And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I called my wife and said, what shall we do? And she said, well, let me think about. But I said to my wife, I know you decide those things. I said to her, I know you decide those things, but I'm not sure whether we shall take this opportunity. What do you think, yes or yes? So actually, we agreed, and some weeks later, I started to work in Tehran. As you certainly know, more than 4 years ago was pretty much before Barjom. It was the first months of the current administration, and many people in the West were a bit doubtful about what this means to go to Iran. So many of my friends asked me, what are you doing? What do you do in Iran? Why do you go there? But in the end, I came to see. I thought maybe after 3 months I will be back home because I cannot work here, I cannot manage. But in the end, I can manage, I'm still here 4 years later. And I think the interesting thing is 3 weeks after I arrived, Mr. Soleimani sent me to Isfahan. And I spent a weekend. I spent 1 weekend here with the head of the sales branch here. And this is when I said, oh, that's really beautiful. It's really fascinating. So from that moment on, I started to travel, and I went to Shiraz and to Yazd and to Tabriz and anywhere, most places in Iran actually I've been, and I found it very fascinating. Now, many people ask me how is it to live in Iran? So many Europeans ask me that because they just don't know. And what I'm going to say now, what I tell to them, maybe is a bit disappointing for you, because I tell my friends, life here is normal. Maybe it's disappointing because we all like to think of our own countries as something very special, but it's normal. And for many Europeans, it's very surprising to hear that it's normal. Which left me thinking a bit why that is so, and what can be done about that. What can be done about that? You know, Europeans, or Westerners in general, would say Iran, It's a difficult country. But they would say, Persia, oh wow, that's a great culture, we know that.
ولی وقتی که میگیم که پرشیا به جای ایران میگن واو چه تمدن بالا بلندی.
So what people in the West do not really manage now to connect Iran with the culture of Achaemenid, Sassanid, Safavid and other times of your history. No, when you ask me how I think the people are, how are Iranians, then I tell you my wife, she's from Spain, she says, I find the Iranians very similar to Spanish people. She says she finds the same or similar thanks, behaviors and cultural characteristics. And you know, we can see this when we make business cultural studies, we can see the same thing. You know, a German manager would say, if we do good business, maybe one day we can become friends. A Spanish businessman would say, if we are good friends, then we can do business. So I think it's very similar to here, right? Isn't it so? That's why I always answer, life is normal here. And somehow, me personally, I've got so much used to living here that when I go abroad sometimes and I come back to Forad Gaimam, I feel like coming home. Now you see, we have talked about preparation and flexibility, but one thing is missing, and that is determination. I remember many years before coming to Iran, many years ago in Europe, I was establishing my first consulting company. And for 1 year, I had no client, no business, and not a cent of income. So I thought, is that really the right thing to do? But I carried on with determination, and in the end, we got very good clients, did very good work for them, and made very good business out of that. So if I want to summarize, I would say flexibility, preparation, and determination bring you opportunity. So my advice is, don't expect opportunity from your school, your system, your country, international politics. No, nobody. Just make it for you. But all which I have said, this is not the end. Because in a society, we do not live as simple individuals to create and exploit opportunity for ourselves. But we live as well in a context of our society. So the fourth and last element is generosity. And generosity for me is not charity, is not giving away money to people. But generosity means help others to create opportunities for themselves. First of all, we owe it to the others, to society. And secondly, because generosity pays off for ourselves. So if we help our neighbors, our society, and our global community to create opportunity, we will benefit ourselves. As a consultancy, we're in a very good situation in this case, because our business is to help others. So we do not view our clients as a source of revenue, but we see them as people and companies whom we can help. And I don't see my employees as people who do work for me, but I see them as people whom I can help to grow so that in the end, they shall be better managers and better consultants than I am. So please be generous for your own sake, for your society's sake, and for the world's sake.
Thank you very much.